Good morning, and thanks for starting your day with Trey. Today, I want to talk to you about how raising your standards really can change your life. You know, your goals describe the life you want. Your standards, they determine the life that you actually live. And this week, we've talked a lot about standards. And so I want to close with something that I've learned through different seasons of my own life. You know, there have been moments when I wanted my life to change. I wanted a different result. I wanted better health, more growth. I wanted a stronger business or better leadership. But wanting something different wasn't enough. You know, at some point I had to decide what I was no longer willing to accept. And that's when things change. You know, because goals are exciting. You know, you write them down, you dream about them, you tell people about them. But standards show up on Tuesday morning when no one's watching. You know, standards show up when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when things aren't going your way. Standards, they determine whether you say that's good enough or you say that's not who I am anymore. You know, think about your health. You can set a goal to get in shape, but eventually you need a standard on how you're going to take care of your body. Think about your relationships. You can want a great marriage, you can want a strong family, but eventually you need a standard for how you communicate. You need a standard for how you treat people. You need a standard for how you present who you actually are. Think about your business. You can set an enormous goal, but eventually you need standards around preparation, follow-up, customer service, work ethic, leadership. And here's what's interesting. Once something truly becomes a standard, it requires less debate. You know, you don't wake up every morning deciding who you're going to be. You've already decided that. And that's the power of standards. So I want you to do something this weekend. Look at the major areas of your life, your health, your relationships, your business or career, your finances, your leadership, your personal growth, and ask yourself, where have I allowed my standards to slip? You know, not somebody else's standards, your standards. And when you've accepted less than you're capable of, you know, where you started making excuses for something you once thought was important, you know, where you've gotten comfortable, and then just choose one standard, not 10, one standard, and make a decision. This is my new standard. Maybe it's I'll train 4 days a week. I don't miss commitments. Maybe it's I don't talk negative about other people. I'll spend more intentional time with my family. You know, I'll prepare before I show up. I'll keep promises to myself. You know, whatever yours is, stop treating it like a suggestion and make it your standard. Because here's what I've learned. You don't need to change your life by occasionally doing extraordinary things. You would change your life by deciding what ordinary behavior you're willing to accept every single day. Your goals describe the life you want. Your standards determine the life you actually live. So raise the standard and watch what happens to your life.